Welcome to the Flash KO Podcast. I'm Colton Cruz.
Ashley Brown.
Brianna Marshall.
Wyatt Garland.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about and analyze anime.
And punch things with our mouths.
Today's topic, most disappointing moments in anime, or something like
Yeah,
that.
so like those moments
The pull-out
where you're like,
moment.
yeah, you're in an anime, everything's going real well, you're having a good time, you think you're about to have a great time, and then all of a sudden it's just like, no,
Wow.
no, pull out, get out, retreat,
I
gone.
didn't sign up for this.
Exactly, yeah.
Call it jumping the shark, call it pulling out, call it disappointing, call it being just disappointing,
Yeah.
garbage.
Weak. I mean, we
Yeah.
have things.
Whatever you want, but I think we've all experienced a moment where we've been totally on board with an anime, and then things take a turn for the worse.
Well, anime is one of those things where we've talked about this before. It's so specific that it does this is its main problem. And honestly, the weirdness factor often throws off 60 to 70% of the people from the get-go. They can't even buckle up with a concept. They're like, oh, what's happening? She's got what color hair? You know, like, it's too much.
Yeah.
But we're used to that.
So like part of the appeal of anime is how foreign or strange it is in many cases.
But then
So
every once in a while...
we get prepared for it to be weird, but then sometimes it could be weirdness factor, but sometimes it's story, sometimes it's
There's a
choice.
Yeah. The point is, there's a legitimate reason, and often it's a strength of the show. I know that one of the ones you wanted to talk about, Gurren Lagann. I mean, one of the pinpoint moments of the show, one of the defining moments of the show, is what turned you off in the first place.
Yeah, so let's start with that one.
Oh, God. Jesus.
We all know what we're talking about here.
God damn.
Spoiler alert.
What,
if you
when the
haven't
end
yet.
of 2007? I don't
Right, so like
Yeah,
in
it's
Gurren
not-
Lagann,
yeah.
it's going on. It's got a typical anime thing. It's a incredibly popular like anime.
The animation's amazing.
And then they
It's
do
beautiful.
a character death, like in the 6th episode. I think.
I don't know what it is, but like for me, it's not even anime. It's just whatever I watch. I get like literally emotionally attached to a character, and like what Kamino's only been in 7 episodes, and then when he dies, I'm just like, I can't watch anymore. I've been betrayed by anime. I can't watch anime
I
ever
spent
again.
2 weeks trying to coax her back
I
into
couldn't.
the
I couldn't. I was just like, no, I
I
can't.
was like, no, but like that's the whole point.
It gets better as I'm like,
it
I don't see.
redefines-
To be fair to Brianna, the episodes following Kamino's death, I would say, are the weakest of the series.
Yeah.
Like, the introduction of Nia is tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. Like, in a way, like, that works really well in the sense that, like, Simone just lost his best friend, and, like, now there's this, like, new character that's trying to be attached to the group, and he's really
Yoko lost
rejectful
her
of that.
love.
He's like, no, I don't want to accept any new people in my life. I love the old friend I had.
Yeah, and
And that's fair.
I think that's fair in the sense of like, it was the first time I had ever experienced such a drastic turn
Oh,
yeah.
in
360.
anime.
Yeah.
And so it was so hard to understand, like, okay, like now we're on a completely different path than we were originally. Like, this is a completely different storyline as well, almost. And I was like, okay, like, I guess this is where we're going. But I loved Kamino more
I love
than
him so
anything.
much. I still have him on my keychain. It's just R.I.P. baby.
And the thing is, my favorite part about that moment is the fact that it makes those episodes he was in so impactful. Because you comb over them, you're like, wow, yeah, that's it. Like, that's all that we technically get. He's so stereotypical. He's so important. But again, like, it's experimental. And
Right,
that's
and
exciting.
I think that's another thing we always talk about Gurren Lagann doing really well is in the first six episodes, it lures you into this like false sense of like, oh, this is just a regular shonen anime.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's breasts and there's people who yell and there's robots and there's
Swords.
Fighting.
basic magic powers. There's a episode where they just introduce the black family and it just seems like a throwaway kind of episode, and then they kill like the main character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're just
And
like,
it's
how
like,
is the show going
what?
to continue on?
Yeah.
And it's not a like High School of the Dead or like one of those like Neji Madoka like shows where it's like, oh, they killed a character. They killed like one of the 8 like Moe Loli girls. like it's like no, they killed a pillar of the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
They killed they put the
pillar.
show
Yeah,
through
really.
No, they put the show through a shock test. They were like, can an anime even survive without this character?
Mhm. Yeah.
And again, like, that's completely reasonable to not want to watch.
Yeah.
Like, so, you did not sign up. When you saw a shirtless blue-haired boy
Oh,
with
God.
a really long sword, you're like, this is why I'm watching.
I mean, Kamen is meant to be larger than life and seem immortal. Like,
Yes, so the jarringness is fair, and like, there's good and there bad things, but at the end of the day, you didn't watch anymore, and you still haven't finished the series.
Okay, I will
Bree
say
pulled out.
I did pull out, but I will.
There is no child.
I will say, like, after I kind of like took a couple weeks, possibly a month, we will never know. I finally got back into the
was
show,
a
and
month.
I did like finally see like, okay, what happens after Kamina dies? You see that Simon grows. You see what happens without the main character, which does. It still lets the show be amazing, but it was so hard.
You didn't care.
It was so hard to go back to it.
That's what's important. What's important is if you care or not, because it's a show. At the end of the day, we could all be doing more productive things.
I will say, I did low-key see a spoiler online, YouTube, it happens, and I do know what happens at the end.
Almost a decade.
I know.
It's
I know.
impossible.
The final season of Samurai Jack copies the ending. It's fine.
It's so stupid, but it's like I saw it happen, and I'm just like, this show is meant to kill me. I can't. Like, you just can't. This anime definitely proves like you can't fall in love with a character, like, because they'll just something may happen.
See, and I would argue that like falling in love with the character is what makes that. Like, I don't know. I like the emotional impact of going through communist.
Well, you like getting hurt.
I hate getting hurt.
I think it's part of having to me, after finishing the show, to me it's part of having a full experience of human emotion through the show. It's like it makes the high points in the show after that feel that much enhanced.
Because it also makes me realize that like who else are they gonna kill at
Yeah.
this point? Because
You get a little
it
worried.
makes everyone feel really
stressed.
important. Yeah, so it's like, okay, who do I need to cling on to, because who else is gonna leave me? Because I didn't expect them to get rid of the main character.
Yeah,
and destruction of expectations is important because that builds sort of a realistic plot structure, or at least a plot structure that has interest that keeps you watching. Now, my personal pull-out moment, the one that I'll always say, and honestly, I'm a little disappointed in myself for not maybe pulling out earlier. Toriko, I have a deep love for Toriko as an artist because fundamentally I could see myself writing and drawing in that style the same type of story. I was like, yeah, no, it's a classic shonen, and I was not fooled. There were no female characters by season 4, so I was like, okay, I know what's going on.
Sunny's the closest thing we got.
Sunny just should have had some tits, and it would have been fine. Like, I would have been like, wow, look at him go. But no, he had to just like porcelain. I don't know what his deal was. Anyway, but like, that had so much potential to be fun, and it signed up for the ride that it was. It was going to be the shonen thing, but Toriko is an example of something that doesn't take itself seriously enough.
Yeah.
Like, Gurren Lagann took itself serious enough to challenge the whole media, which shook some people off, which is what it was trying to do.
Yeah, it did it episode 6 of 24.
Exactly.
Like,
However, Toriko was just trying to be a One Piece knockoff.
Right. They do. So I would say, like, first cardinal sin, like, going into, I think, what you're going to talk about is they do the Hunter x Hunter thing. They're like, actually, the whole time this world has been a micro world inside of a bigger ocean where there's a real world outside of that, and I hate that shit.
It's just like
Hunter x Hunter did that, and I'd say that's a jump the shark moment.
Exactly.
Same kind of
the
thing.
only reason it works with One Piece is because they said it from the beginning. This is the
yeah.
grand line. It's mystery. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, he halfway through he invents the new world. He's like,
Yeah.
oh no, there's a second half to the grand line that I'm remembered now, and it's like, but at that point it's kind of just like, no, we trust you. Like, it's fine.
With Toriko, it feels very.
What are they gonna do? Like, get off the boats? Like,
No, there's gonna be islands.
Toriko, it's arbitrary because it's like, you could have just made up a connected land and made it harder. It doesn't matter that you tried to mind fuck us.
They have their capture levels, and I think that was a really arbitrary system. They kind of get past it, and they kind of use it for that moment where they can be like capture level unknown and that sort of bullshit. But again, it was a series that relied heavily on its expectations.
Yeah, and they drive that entire plot into eating monkey balls.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I was watching it because I was reading it because it had that cool, like, Fist of the North Star. It's like, well, this is a little weird, but at least really jacked men with mullets are punching each other. I was like, I can identify. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But then they started eating monkey testicles, and I was just like,
it's like beyond even just like that they did it. It's like they set up, all right, now we're going to phase 2, the continent beyond the continent. These things have levels beyond ourselves, and that's all to get to eat monkey testicles.
Yeah, it's just, I understand, and the thing is, again, it's like, I'm not sure how culturally relevant, how culturally connected that is to, like, Japanese culture, like,
I think it is like way less weird over there than it is here.
I know,
Yeah.
but like it's still like really, dude. Like
It still is a gag, and I would say
Exactly.
not a good gag.
exactly,
Yeah.
it's still an attempt, and also it being kind of the first moment that the four Heavenly Kings, all different personalities, kind of were like
Team up to
"Let's-
beat something that's not a trash bag monster.
Yeah, like let's team up and eat these testicles. And also, it's just really weird. I mean, fundamentally, think about it, guys. We're gonna all go. We're gonna team up. Fucking Super Saiyan Force right here, and we're gonna have all of our cells align to beat up a monkey and then eat his balls. It's like I don't.
But you're not even
That's
beating
like
the
where
monkey.
you just-
Yeah.
The goal wasn't even to overcome the strength of the monkey.
No,
it was just to
cut off his
nab,
balls. That's it.
nab,
That's it.
nab the balls.
That's
I don't. Also, Toriko could regrow his hand again. Horse shit.
So that he could eat monkey testicles. Instead, it all hinged on that.
Exactly.
Man.
It was just a crucial plot point that was like, right, this whole thing is a joke. And I was okay with like the echo of it being a joke.
Right.
I was okay with being like, no, I get it. You're gonna have your stupid little like food creatures that are gags, and I understand. But
Yeah.
we're gonna fight a cool monster that you designed eventually, right? And we're gonna fight those like bird things. That's cool. That's your own thing. It feels kind of like,
It's
dude, are you taking this
yeah.
seriously?
It's like if Akira Toriyama never got out of Dragon Ball and did Dragon Ball Z like as like a fighting manga.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if he kept it in that gaggy like, nope, every other panel's got to be a gag, and it's like
Ballless
it's like, no,
panties.
At a certain point, exactly. But at a certain point, he was like, no, this is a serious fighting anime,
Yeah.
not a gag anime.
Yeah,
And, then
and,
that's what he
and
went with.
characters
It's
punch each
fair.
other, and there were results to that. And that's, you have to eventually get there. And the fact that they were trying in Toriko to start talking about Toriko's inner psyche and, like, his demons, but they just didn't even go all the way. Again, there's something about, you cannot have your cake and eat it too, unfortunately. Toriko can eat a lot, but he can't do that, alright? And it's a shame, because, you know, I wanted to read more. I was okay with the art style, I was okay with the fighting, but yeah, that's when I had to pull out.
Same, yeah.
I hear you. I feel like for me though, the most like when we talk about like story, like obviously like Monkey Balls is ridiculous, but for me it's like once I just start losing interest in a story,
Yeah.
it's done. Like
Sometimes you need the monkey balls.
exactly. And so for me with whether you want to call it Hunter x Hunter or Hunter x Hunter, it's up to you. But
Yeah, the comments are roaring right now.
Actually is up to you, by the way.
Yeah.
but it's after the whole like I guess I'm gonna call it entrance exam. What do they call it?
The Hunter
The
exam.
Hunter exam.
Hunter license.
Like
whatever you call it.
after that was done, that was it. Like there was nothing interesting to me anymore. They did it. They
How much
passed.
farther did you watch? What did you get to? Can you remember anything?
The
after
last
it?
thing I remember was them all being in the room together,
Okay.
and then like I think they were getting on a boat and leaving.
Mm.
Were they? No, they were. I don't remember. It's been like
It's
3
been
Just
a
years.
gone, wake up in a
Yeah.
But
hospital
yeah.
room, and like there's like
Yeah.
You passed. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes, that's exactly what
Kilowatt
happened.
didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what. And I was really upset about him not passing the exam
Yeah.
because he tried really, really hard.
To be fair, there, I think that is just a bad writing moment in the manga and the
Yeah.
anime. Like the end of the Hunter. So like Hunter x Hunter is so good. 2011 anime is so
Yes,
good.
Yeah.
very good.
Manga's actually
Manga's
impressive.
okay. It's terribly drawn. but
That's just
But
his
it's
style.
anyway, but that's the thing.
Kirika.
At the end of that arc, he does just suck at ending it. Like
Yeah.
the ending is Gon passes out, and then a bunch of events unfold, and he wakes up to hear
right.
what happened.
It is weird.
Yeah.
And that just sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
that bothers me.
sucks.
That bothers me so much because then it's like, okay, well, obviously he didn't care enough about this obvious main character caring about what happened or seeing what happened, other than just getting like a backstory
Yeah,
almost.
third party's weird.
Exactly, and
he pulled a Stephen King and got scared at the ending. Like it was
Yeah.
like
and so for me, it's like I didn't have any investment to move forward after that. So once you get to that point, it's like, okay, well, I really don't care what happens after this because you didn't care what happened
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Mm.
a similar thing, like I think what you were saying with Gurren Lagann, where I think in Hunter x Hunter 2, the period that comes after that too is just some of the weakest in the story at
It's
all.
challenging.
They
Yeah.
create, you know, they start to create their like superhero system, Nen.
yeah.
And
yeah.
Hunter x Hunter has, I think, one of the weakest kind of like power structure systems they ever came up with in a
It's
manga.
abstract.
It's really like, well, he puts rules on it, and then it's basically from there he never sticks to those rules ever again.
Yeah, because I honestly loved the character development in and of itself. Like you have this like really ridiculous clown character
So
that
good.
ends up being this just absolute assassin, and you're like, okay,
Love him.
like I'm not
So
prepared for this at all.
that's the peak? Wow.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the next sort of part you would have dealt with would have been them going to Killua's place, and it would have been such a different note that you were expecting that I don't even think you'd read past that point.
So does Killua continue throughout the...
Well, the
Series, yes.
Series, okay.
He's in the rest
Actually-
of God and Killua are inseparable.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
good.
whole
To
series.
be
Good.
to be fair, like do you care heavily about
No.
spoilers? Yeah, but the idea is literally Killua goes back and passes the hunter exam later next year by knocking out every single entry in the hunter exam at the first stage.
Good.
There's no one else.
Good.
So they literally make fun of that whole say, oh, by the way, but Killua passed immediately. And it's like,
And nobody else passed.
yeah, so it was
Yeah.
very much like, I don't, okay.
This world is huge and expansive and has a supercontinent outside of the regular continent. But
thing
there's
you
nobody
hate.
better than Killua that could possibly be in the exam. There are no other characters.
No
though.
one can make him sweat.
But people play video games. They're better than him. Exactly. He's bad at the top down. He's bad at 30,000 feet. He's pretty good
But
at
man, when they're
10,000
in there,
feet.
when they're in the tower, man, I can see you getting so much like, oh, so this is what this anime is going to be about.
Yeah.
They're going to be facing things, and they're going to be using more
And
than
then
just
just
strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the ending of that was, what would you have liked to see?
Honestly, I was so enthralled with the like main characters you're being introduced
The team
to
dynamic?
being not actually the team dynamic, them being against each other.
Okay.
Because that's not
Interesting.
something for me because I grew
Them
up with like
having their own
Naruto and
independent goal.
DBZ and all that you've got all these people that are a group. Everyone is independent, they have their own reasons and they're trying to get everyone else out of the way.
Yeah.
And I like even tuning exams with Naruto, like people are against each other,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
still have their teams.
They're all
But
in
this,
the
it was
same
one for all.
village, exactly.
Exactly.
So the individuality of it was exciting, and
Yeah.
the second that they boiled it down to well, we're actually just going to talk about these three characters.
Yeah.
It got a little bit.
That's where I was like, that's where like I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want this
That's fair,
baby.
yeah.
I'm good. Like,
Which is really interesting because, like, what you were saying was, like, after a big turn of events, that it's, like, just a kind of slow period, which is, like, what would definitely, like, lose interest immediately. Because, like,
Yeah.
after we saw the few episodes after Kamina died, I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore.
you know, like if I was
don't wanna watch
watching
this
it in
anymore.
real time, like in Saturday morning
Oh,
cartoon
yeah.
style, I would
Towards
stop
the
watching
TV.
the show because it's like
Yeah.
I'm not going to invest my time in sitting down and
Yeah.
watching
And
a show
that's-
that's already lost
And that's
my
the
interest.
thing.
at this
Exactly.
point.
Your expectation is every other episode, exactly. And if you feel satisfied, then you stop watching.
Because
Yeah.
we have the ability to binge watch now, so we can sit down and watch an entire series in a weekend if we want.
Or
but
2 days.
I would also like to have that experience of like, okay, if I wanted to watch this on a weekly basis, like if I eventually catch up and they still
Right.
come out with episodes, I want to be interested.
You want to.
Yeah.
That's the experience you want to sign up for and
Yeah.
enjoy.
You have that conception of media where you're like, no, every episode better pull me.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
fair.
And there
it's-
are some that aren't going to, and that's
Yeah.
fine. We
Yeah.
talked about that with the My Hero
Fillers,
episodes. We
it
talked
just
about
it
fillers.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but I still want to be like, okay, I'm still invested in this film. I still want at the end of it, the next time on Dragon Ball Z, to be like, yeah, I'm ready
You want
for
that
it.
serial
I'm ready.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
for
fair.
sure.
Yeah, you hook.
For sure.
First one I'm going to talk about is probably still hot on everybody's mind. Darling in the Franxx. So much.
Man,
all-
they really had us in the first half.
The first
Oh my
half, yeah.
god.
So I think all of us here at the table, we started out like really interested in studio Trigger.
Yeah.
Come in the studio and getting our kill and our growing
It's
along.
Evangelion. It's
Evangelion
Evangelion.
Yeah.
director and stuff. So we looked at that and we were like, wow. And then you get the first episode and you have all this symbolism with the pistol and the stamen, boy and girl pairs,
The heels.
the heels,
The heels.
them,
Everything you need.
them
Yeah.
putting the girl, doggy style, like in front of them. Like it's like, okay,
Arch that back,
there's,
ladies.
there's clearly a lot of like sexual symbolism going on right here.
The fact that they were of the cusp. Like if they were
Not on the
adults, you'd
cusp
be
of,
like,
sexuality,
oh,
like-
okay,
Yeah.
we're just doing this. But the fact that they were like 13,
Yeah.
it was like, all right, so we're talking about
And so
this.
the series rolls on. You've got a little bit of interpersonal relationships and kind of a little bit of that preteen like I like that girl, I like her too. You got like a girl learning about pregnancy and what children are in this post-apocalyptic like totalitarian
interesting.
world where like babies aren't a thing and like adults
Yeah.
like are something these children can never be. And like you have all of this symbolism going on. You have a girl who is a lesbian and like comes to terms with that in a world where there is no cultural thing that would ever teach her what being a lesbian is or what being attracted to. But she knows deep down in herself like that's what she is and like she has to express that in some way.
Yeah.
Powerful like sexual and personal identity like symbolism. and they just do nothing with it.
Yeah.
They they literally erase those two characters.
Yeah. They turn into a lovey-dovey story.
Yeah, and
Towards the second half, yeah,
and
definitely.
and that's the thing. Even on that lovey-dovey story, they even have you have a character coming who's kind of sexually deviant from all of these children, and she interacts with the main character in a very sexual way. What does that mean to the story? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
It's just
it has no meaning to this world we have.
No.
The
There
apes
should be
being monkeys, none of it means anything.
There should be consequences, even if they're minor, to the things they're saying.
Yeah, and if you're gonna put the girls, arched back in front of the boys,
Heels up and a gunshot.
that's gotta mean something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't in the series. And it's set up like it does. They're yeah, look at how flashy and sexy all of this is in the first episode.
Which is so weird because it's with them doing what's the main character's name? The girl, the pink hair.
Zero.
Yeah.
What?
06.
06.
So it's just she's super
Zero
sexual.
two?
Zero something.
He's 06.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
02.
yeah.
They're all numbers, but it's just the whole thing is where they're all arched
She's
back,
got
and then
teeth.
she's super sexual, but then they just kind of brush it off, and then one episode where the girl's talking about the pregnancy, and they're like, "Could that happen?" And I'm like, "What is all this you've done in the entire series?"
For me, it was so.
This should have been talked about.
It was so tantalizing because even at the first episode, I was like, "Oh, you know what's gonna happen is she's gonna be riding him." That's what they're talking about.
They do that by
Yeah.
episode 2. They flip that around and it's no, she's a power bottom. She goes for it.
Exactly.
But again,
They don't
that's
say anything
what's
with it.
happening, and we know that as the audience. Nobody in this world seems to ever understand
There's
that.
no
And there's
visual
no meaning to it.
Having a visual metaphor of her literally being and him crouching would have been so wow, so many questions now.
Well, they do
wow.
that later. They have boy Simon who come later.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't mean anything. There's still
Exactly.
no meaning other than just well, we knew people would freak out if we did it, so we did it. And that's the same thing. It's I mean, at that point, it's yeah, we drew a curved line in front of a straight line, and it's that got people a little rowdy, and that's the only reason we did it. As the creators, all they did was bait us,
Yeah.
and it was cheap, and it was bad, and then they, again, literally erase the characters that deal with that.
Yeah, I feel it's just they wrote the first episode and was yeah, you know what? We're gonna go a completely separate direction.
Yeah,
just crumbles on the floor.
That got us funding.
Yeah.
Now,
It's yeah, so this is what got us through the door. We don't actually know how to write.
No,
so.
I do think that's exactly what happened. Is a director sat down and loaded a first episode with possibilities.
Yeah.
And then staff who took over didn't know what to do with those possibilities, didn't know how to grow a story out from that organically.
so they went with what they
and
know.
so they were well, what would happen in a sci-fi world? And they do it, and there's touching moments. There's still great moments of Jerome meeting an adult and realizing he can't become one, and that they're old, and
one.
there's great sci-fi in it. There's so much potential there. It's just completely squandered by
much
people having no
much
direction.
like the parasites.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. The other one that I really had feelings about was Kenichi, Strong's Disciple. I am a huge martial arts person. I love it. I will talk about Baki. That's happening. I love punching. I love when people get punched and people are throwing punches, and I love sort of the thought process that goes into fighting. But Kenichi had, again, you were saying, so much freaking potential, as far as dynamics
He's a
goes.
fantastic artist, fantastic storyboarder.
I mean, it was so juicy. It was tantalizing. Talk about a page turner.
Yeah.
You couldn't even inventive. Come on.
Every character has their own martial art, basically.
Yeah, and it was so funny and so good and still emotional. And they had a character who was battling the biggest hurdle in the world. A complete lack of talent and having to understand everything.
The main
from the
character
ground up.
being Zero.
Yeah. He was no, it was so funny because his whole deal is he has zero aptitude for martial arts. So the 4 martial art masters are this is actually kind of exciting. They're oh, so a blank slate completely.
Which is a huge reversal of the shonen mentality. We talked about in a really old podcast, Gap Generation.
Oh yeah.
About Kenichi falling in that he's like a proto Deku from My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Exactly. But his main flaw of the whole series is unfortunately it's kind of like Toriko with the gag one. A lot of time artists will do that. They will pull integrity out of the series for, I mean, I guess what they assume, like, a week-by-week sort of thing. And I don't know if that's a Shonen Jump sort of situation where, like, no, your numbers were down, dude.
Yeah, if the editor's on their ass.
You gotta change some stuff up. But honestly, like, he was a big Ichi guy. He would draw, you know, we talked about this Gap Generation one. We talked about this in Relation one, too. Mm-hmm. Her name's Moi, or I forget her name, the blonde one. Miu, there you go. And she's a cool character. She's arguably one of the strongest characters in her age group. But she is so weakly written and so massively objectified that it just really kind of completely derails the plot, which is Kenichi trying to be someone that she aspires to be with. Like, the whole deal is, he's like, no, you know what, I'm not really about martial arts, but I'm really about them blonde titties. So, I am going to put the time in and become somebody that she's about. But like we talked about, there's no indication that she would even be about that type of person.
No, I mean, it's completely just stilted on his idea of like, oh, you're going to be my manic pixie dream girl, and I just get to decide that.
And I swear, I mean, I was reading it up to like almost the war part where they were doing the Master v Master part.
I read the whole thing.
Where she was exactly, and I mean, I don't think I was more than freaking, I was close. My favorite character, Berserker.
Okay.
Literally,
he comes back, yeah.
He comes back, he's got the bubblegum, the leather jacket with no sleeves, the blonde hair, the fucking eyebrows. I could not identify with the character more. Oh yeah, I don't even have a fighting style. I just instinct fight. I'm like, I want, and I stopped reading because I couldn't handle it anymore. If I had to click through, because that's how I read things, if I had to click through one more fight where everybody's clothes just came off, and they were
every girl's fight clothes came off.
Just okay, let's draw them naked, and then just let's spray on a spray of cloth.
Like Miu, the main female character too. Her default outfit was a skin tight leotard, so just painted on costume. He loved to draw nipple impressions on everything,
and he already had that. But
that's the thing. But then every fight that had to get blown off.
My God.
And it's just, I get it. It was very clearly I gotta give this chapter some points.
And it almost works for a long time when they're in when they're doing high school fights, when they're we're fighting the martial arts yakuza who's taking over the schools.
The sumo captain.
It kind of works because there's other men, and then there's female characters they introduce, but the female characters they all have some kind of sexy costume element they do. But it kind of works in the sense that the first main character they fight is Kisara, and she has skin tight jeans, but one of the legs is completely gone.
Oh, I remember her.
And they show a lot of, and she does kicks, so they show a lot of her legs a lot.
Gotcha.
But she's at least in charge of a group of people.
She's a captain.
She's a captain, exactly, of
she's got an authority.
a group.
And to be fair, Moi is technically the most, like I said, she's the strongest within her age group. Other
in no way that's ever demonstrated in the manga.
She's the daughter.
It's all lip service. That's the thing.
Exactly. She's the daughter of the strongest human being on the planet. So she, at 10 years old, was fighting characters
then why isn't she the main character? Exactly. Because she's not actually the strongest.
Because she's a girl. You know? And I mean, I understand the sort of we're talking about sexy women and that's the whole point. We want to draw that crap. And I will tolerate a portion of that for fan service and for I mean, I don't mind seeing some anime titties myself. But there was a fucking, there's a limit. Yeah. There's a fucking limit. And Kenichi, at the freaking, I mean, I must have been 20 chapters out from the ending, and I couldn't see it anymore.
At that point, too, so I remember that specifically in the anime. That was when it was...
With the theme park or something?
It was getting towards the end, and he clearly was losing grip on it, and so he starts doing it just more. So, as a technique of himself, losing it, he'd go from, literally the chapter before, he had a beautiful martial arts double panel, super, super good. But he was just losing his grip on telling the end of this story. Yeah. So he would just draw women more and more naked.
Oh.
And introduce bigger and bigger breasts.
Oh my God, that one character, the counter to the elder.
Yeah, so
she's 200 years old, but she knows how to use
she has that tsunami complex.
Body jitsu where she can be super young.
Explain that to me.
And then the other thing, I would say the biggest thing that happens in the end is they have the whole time they have this like quiet weapons master that
Yeah.
they have, and they've had she's obviously
that girl.
super well endowed the whole
Okay,
time.
so she's got a skin tight bodysuit, but it's purple and it's even tighter.
And it's a skirt.
God.
Yes.
Because she only wears
Oh,
like
God.
traditional Japanese
She wears a
underwear,
thong,
too,
like
of
she's got a
course.
thong.
But
Oh,
they
God.
do. She gets captured basically.
So she's bound.
Yeah, so she's
And
bound.
in a tight
But they
outfit.
also just do that whole the whole final battle. He just is like, yeah, she's just naked for the whole thing.
Yeah,
They just took her clothes off because like she can't be trusted with clothes on.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
Oh,
and
no.
she
Unforbid
wins.
clothes.
She wins, but only because she's
No,
naked.
she fights, but like I just say like I at that moment in the manga, it was at the really messy ending, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'll just write all of the girls' clothes off for the rest of the manga.
It's,
To-
he's
to
just
figure it
anticipating
out.
on
It blows.
he's anticipating on the fans to just be like, I don't see women ever, so I get naked women.
I
in
get to
this-
see
in this.
titties.
Yes.
It
It's
baffles
a
me a little
it's a
bit.
simple,
It's
weak,
weak.
It's very
explanation for what could have been a really great story.
Yeah.
And when I saw that towards the ending, I'm like, so this doesn't go anywhere. Well, I gotta.
I'm done.
Exactly, yeah, like it's as empty as the ending ends up being, which is sad.
Yeah.
It's a
It
good,
is sad because
good
storylines.
Art
should
is
just-
amazing in that series.
art is so good.
It's very good. No one communicates emotion like he does.
That's true. But when it comes to like I guess storytelling, I think for you that continues to be like storytelling sometimes overtelling
Oh my god. Like I
tends to be your problem.
I'm all about like all sorts of anime, like old and new, and I loved Ranma. Ranma
Oh,
1.5.
yeah.
It's like that is still the biggest thing that people cosplay today. But it's just
it's old school. It's classic.
It's classic and old school, but just the one thing it's so repetitive. There's 7 seasons. It's just like, oh, this guy, if he gets splashed with water, he turns to the girl. And one guy who's his rival, he likes him when she's a girl, but like, it's just repetitive. It's like, oh, if you're a guy, then like your rival likes you, but then like if you're a girl, then your other rival likes you, and I'm just like, this is literally the same
It's like
episode
it's just like a
every
triangle.
single day for 7 seasons. I'm like, I can't watch this. Like I've
That's
already got it for like 3
completely
episodes.
fair.
Can we do something new, please?
Yeah.
It was a definition of like sort of a grab you, like, nope, this is what you expect, bada bing. It doesn't age well, I think is the best way to put it.
No, I mean, granted, it is old school, but it's just like, even back then, they still had some pretty good stuff. I mean, Akira came out in the 80s, and look, it's still a masterpiece today, but it's
It's
like...
a little incomparable.
I still think
It's like a
masterpiece.
daily, it's like a weekly TV show.
But it's just like, it's just upsetting because like even today's too, it's like even if I watch my like gag like slice of life stuff and it's just repetitive and I'm like, all right, I saw 2 episodes of this. Can you give me something more?
I find myself more and more finding there are a lot of anime that I love the idea of, I love the premise of, but I really only need like 4 episodes
yeah.
Yeah.
to get through. Like we talked about this among ourselves. We've talked about that with like Cells at
Oh
Work.
yeah, absolutely.
It's great. It's
Devil is a
amazing.
Part-Timer.
Yeah.
But these things don't have any. I remember Devil is a Part-Timer, 2nd season. I was like,
This should be.
so it's just the second. The only part about the 2nd season I liked is when he summoned all the crocodiles and talked.
No,
about
like
them.
they'll come up with decent jokes. Like I'm sure Ranma, like they get episodes in, like every once in a while you'll hit like, oh that was
That's
a good,
interesting. That's
that was a
kinda- I
good
like
new
that.
joke.
But
Yeah.
nothing. The whole. It's that American.
But the premise
comic
itself,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, where it's like,
yeah.
oh no, it's
one
never
out.
gonna change. There always has to be sexual tension.
Yeah.
So.
Shimoneta, like, is another one, like SOX. So like, it's about all
Oh
this
my
like
God,
sexual
I
That's
didn't
right,
finish
SOS!
it. I didn't finish it.
But like that's the thing. Like at a certain point, it's like this is really funny, but if you change anything about the status quo of this world, it falls apart, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fair. I still love it. I can love things in small pieces. Like it's a lot of movies should be short films.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
Agreed.
there we
it's
go.
the same
Yes,
kind of
agreed.
thing.
Don't
Like
need to be seen
I
in the
love a
theater
lot
for
of
2
movie
hours.
trailers. They have great trailers and they're bad movies. It's like no,
Yeah.
condensation premise. I can enjoy
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
exploring that. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I think like one thing is like certain seasons can be absolutely phenomenal. Like, and one thing I think pretty much almost all fans can agree on is Sword Art Online.
Yo,
I
first
didn't-
First
First season was the
season?
best. I just thought it should have been
They
it. That
get
should have been it.
married? What the
That should have been it.
The whole thing was amazing. It was something I had never seen specifically in an anime. I was like, okay,
And they
I'm all
dunk
in.
on it. They dunk
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
it.
I was like,
It is. Yeah, they do the best job.
Yeah, they do
possible.
absolutely phenomenal. Like they're like, you go to any convention, there's going to be a million different Sword Art Online cosplayers.
I have drawn Sword
Yeah.
Art
Yeah.
Online at the Mouse House. Okay.
Yeah,
Like, like I've done that.
It's
No,
so
yeah.
well known, but then you get to the 2nd season.
I still have not seen the 2nd season.
And they
Fairyland.
even have a 3rd season. Like
I didn't
I
know
was
there
like,
was a
I
third
was on
season.
board for the 2nd season. I was like, okay, I'm about fairies and elves. Let's do this.
And that face
And
shit.
but it's still it's again it's the same storyline, but just a little different. But
Yeah.
it's still the same
Yeah,
basic
it's
concept.
repetitive.
It's the thing is the first one was such a perfect telling of that scenario
Yes.
that when you change when you're like, okay, we got a second season, what do we change? What can we change? And I think the big thing for me that like really put me off that they changed was, oh, the other players, they can just log in and out all they want.
Yeah.
Only really Austin is the one whose life is on the line, and
Yeah.
nobody really
Zero.
gives a shit. Like,
Zero
Yeah.
attention.
I mean, they all care and they band together to save her, but like at the end of the day, it's like, come on, man, somebody needs to report that. Like,
Yeah, no, and honestly, like
get the mods on there. Like,
the big thing for me is it's like, okay, this huge thing just happened in this giant virtual world where they all almost died.
Mhm.
And then season 2, they're like, yep, let's put it all back on because everything's totally fine.
Oh, they fixed that.
Like,
They fixed it.
It's
They fixed
the
the
bugs
bugs.
fine.
and like,
it's okay.
And like
no.
in Sword Art Online 2, when they do Gun Gale Online, they try and address like some of those pieces where they're like, oh, Kirito is having a little PTSD from the time in Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
And it's like, did he not? Like, did he not feel that before? Like,
Yeah,
before?
okay.
It's just this
Are
the
we just
aftershocks
gonna-
like real late.
Are we
like-
just gonna not pretend it didn't
which
happen?
is fine. It's just at that point, like Sword Art Online was such a good condensed masterpiece. At that
Yeah.
point, it's like there are good things in Sword Art Online season 2. There are good things in Gun Gale Online. There's good things in Alcea Tell. There are good things in all these like spin-offs they're doing. But like Sword Art Online was all of those in one
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
short kind of
if you
sequence story.
if you do something, and I mean it's a basic consumerist principle. It's like, oh, we can make more money out of this. We can make another thing out of this because coming up with a new idea is harder
It is.
than
It
milking
is.
an old idea. Don't get me wrong,
Absolutely.
but there is a proper way to milk things. I would
Yeah.
argue.
I
You know?
agree completely. There's definitely like when you look at like really big series, like when you have like original Dragon Ball, go to DBZ, go to Dragon Ball like Super. Like it does a beautiful
Yeah.
right, of
transition.
transitioning between those.
And there's very distinct differences between all of the series.
Yeah.
Like even like Naruto and Boruto. Like it's
Yeah.
very different.
It's
but I'm
celebratory and
invested.
also like sort of advances. It's
Yeah.
like you're gonna get 50-50. You're gonna get a little bit like, hey, you know, we're
And
doing, you know, like.
And I
like
think that
Yeah.
goes down in some ways, at least with Sword Art specifically. It's a pretty vanilla character. The characters in Sword Art Online are pretty
Yeah.
simple.
He has
Yeah.
2 swords and a black jacket.
Yeah. and
Whereas Goku, I would say, is a more complex,
for
even
sure.
character, and like,
Dynamic.
that's saying like a lot.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I
Say
definitely
that,
think like with Sword Art
yeah.
Online, we went through this huge transition within the first season,
Yeah.
where you have this crazy amount of fighting and fighting for your life to this like simple period where they're like, no, we're just gonna settle down.
Which I love.
That's my like
So good.
if I did a Sword Art Online
So good.
cosplay, it would be that.
Yeah.
When
that,
he
like,
when
time
she
period.
maxes out on the cooking skill, I'm
I
like,
love it.
that's the funniest thing I've
I
ever
love
heard.
it.
Like,
It's
no,
like
I've
they-
literally been chill for so long. Like,
Yeah, it's like no, we're at a point to where like we can't find the next level. It just
Yeah.
is what it is. So we're just gonna take time to be parents and be married and have fun and enjoy life. And it's like, okay, they're actually kind of like enjoying the game a little bit, even though this is a really stressful period. It's like I kind of relate to this in real life.
Welcome to life. Exactly.
Exactly, and then they are like, okay, now it's time to move on. And even like the death of their child,
Yeah.
like they go through just all these complex
They
emotions.
experience an entire lifetime like in a truncated amount of time.
Exactly.
And that's so impactful.
Yes.
Poignant.
But then in season 2, it's like his sister might want to bang on him, and it's like, okay,
can't.
I'm
like
so
you're
glad
really
I watched
ruining
season
like
2.
everything
I
here.
can't, which I was
Maybe we back up.
invested. I was like, let's do it. Like I'm kind of invested. I really like her elf outfit. It's pretty hot.
Oh, yeah.
But like I was like, I can't. This whole thing, I
You're
can't.
saying it's weak characters. It
is,
basically
yeah.
turned into harem anime.
100%.
Yeah.
It went from a
Even
straight
more
up
than
battle.
Sword.
100%.
Well,
I was like, I can't handle this.
he was just dope in that one.
Because
So.
just
Yeah.
in a quick tidbit, yeah, we do have. I know another good story of someone who watched Sword Art Online, and their pull-out moment was as soon as they saw the tentacles in the first.
That'll do
to
it.
be fair,
That'll do
to be
it.
fair, they got through the first tentacles, but when they saw the second tentacles,
like-
they were like, okay, I signed up for one. How many of the tentacles? Like, what's going on here?
Completely fair.
Everyone has their moment where they're just like, listen, I've indulged this indulgent, beautiful, artistic thing, this very unique way up the mountain, this very untrudged path, but I gotta turn around. I need something that I understand.
Yeah.
And a good series, something that is successful, is something that knows how to balance those things, how
Right.
to flirt with, oh, this is something that's never been done before, but not pull away from what the core of the series is about. And those are your pillars. I mean, those are your things that work.
We always
agree.
have season 1, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like you always want it to be consistent, and that's what we all want from like a quality anime.
Yeah. Consistently
For sure.
flavor.
So the last one I wanted to talk about was Bleach. I mean, it's the biggest thing. We've done a whole anime, and we've already done a whole podcast thing about Bleach.
Well, it affected
I
much.
I can boil down the exact moment. It's the Fullbringer arc. Like, is the one that ruins the series. Like,
because let's be fair, Soul Society arc is one of the greatest shonen arcs ever.
Soul Society is such a good shonen.
I watched all of it on YouTube.
Yeah, same.
Jesus.
Fucking
I have watched the first episode.
It's
That's
not
fair.
that
Good for
good.
you.
And that's it.
Don't worry about it. He's got
it.
orange hair.
But I mean,
That's it.
but you can't deny at all that it is it is One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach.
Yeah,
One of
it's
three.
still in the
Like,
same-
there's
yeah.
just- There's no like
For-
denying how
For,
popular.
No,
it is.
100%.
For a moment, it was top
For
three.
for decades.
Long
like-
time.
It went from
Exactly.
silver to bronze. I'm sure it was gold at one point in time.
Exactly, but like just to quickly talk about, so like we had Soul Society arc. We introduced, here are 14 captains and vice captains. They all have their own superpowers and everything.
Yep.
Wow, isn't that cool? All right, let's move on to the next arc. Wow, we have these people who have masks on there. They used to be Shinigami. There's 7 of them. They all have this like power, and it's unique. And Chico has that one too, just like he had the power that all of the captains have.
Yep.
Let's go
All
to
right,
Hectomundo.
Let's go to Hectomundo. Oh, what's this? There are evil versions of all of these same systems where they all have like one power and this power, and but like this is at least working towards the villain that we created in the best arc in the show. So like
And
we're working towards it.
You got a like a 4-year-old who turns into a big titty bitch. So like you got what
Just
you want.
that's what got me. I was like, I can't watch
we're on the
this.
3rd tier of that system of like, okay, we introduce a group of characters. They all have 2 superpowers. He has to move through them all. They're all kind of like mirrors of each other. Yada yada
It
yada.
made sense.
And we get through. We slog for years to finally end the Aizen arc. To me, because it took so long, I was like, that's where the manga has to end.
Yeah.
They beat Aizen, that's it. Like this was a 2-arc manga, like
It's
basically.
fine. It was
And
honestly
that's
like
fine.
4
It
or
was
5.
cool.
It was
Yeah.
solid.
Because clearly, I mean, they got to the point where not only had Ichigo entered Hueco to fight the mirrors of all these people with superpowers, then the Hueco people invade the world,
Yes.
and then they meet each other, and then there's this whole other set of captains and captains,
even
down to
had-
like low tier characters meet duplicates to fight basically.
He even had his moment where Grimjaw beat him, and then he like came back. It's standard, beautiful
shot
done.
and stuff.
Come back,
By the
like
book.
you gotta
Like-
do it.
But then we beat Aizen. We get like we are.
No, we don't because he's immortal,
We
right?
beat Aizen. We get through it. We're like, oh my god. We went through some bullshit at the end. It wasn't very good, but we've ended the series. It's good. It's everything. Oh wait, no. What's the next arc? Here are another group of 7 people with some new
I
made
heard
up
about
superpower.
that. I was just like,
called
this is too
Fullbringers.
much.
And you know what? They're the same superpower that the least popular friend he has powers. They're Fullbringer. They have
Yeah,
Fullbring.
it's-
Chad is a Fullbring. That's what it is.
It's
and they have
so
they have
dumb.
powers that are on
Memory
tier-
erasing?
Exactly. Yeah.
That horse shit.
We control reality with a Game Boy, and it's bad. It's just like, first of all the powers were bad, and it's also just the same trick over
Repetitive,
and
yeah.
over and over again. And like in the fight with Aizen, I was like, oh no, they gotta keep going because we haven't seen every single captain's Bankai
Yeah,
and
that's the
Shikai.
point.
I was like, we have to see all of them because that's what we've been promised. But I didn't get that, and I was like,
How long
maybe-
does it take to see Ryuko's like regular fucking named sword?
Rukia, you see it, yeah, in Hueco Mundo. Like,
Yeah, and it's a copy of the ice bitch.
yeah, it's an ice sword because
No,
again,
it's snow. I'm sorry. It's a different element.
There are only so many. There's only so
hate
many
that shit.
superpowers.
I'm telling you.
Because he tries to build a system with Zanpakuto, and like they have spirits, and like he's built systems. But every time he introduces a new group of people, he introduces a whole new system that is completely made up.
Do you remember
and
when
overpowered.
Renji was in his cell with the monkey,
Yep.
and like you were like, what? What?
And you're like,
What?
you know what? This is the first time I've like seen this one power that's introduced brought to a second level. I'm comfortable.
They
with it.
never did it again. Never like talked about how and Ichigo's is just a copy version of himself. I don't know, but that's only because he's
Kind
got
of. Kind of.
exactly he's got hollow jizz inside him. I don't
Yeah.
know, like it's,
Kind of.
Handle that.
But anyway, like it just gets really convoluted, and it's a moment where, to me, as soon as we hit Fullbringer, I was like, we go through all of Aizen. We basically, in my mind, what should have ended the series, and then you bring in this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just
To me, I pulled out.
if
Yeah.
it was
I got
good,
enough.
like yeah.
If it was good, if it was interesting, nothing had been built in the Aizen fight to even be like, oh yeah, but there could be Fullbringers out there. It's literally just the next chapter. He's like, this is the news art, guys, and it's like, buddy, you set none of this up.
You got the letter from the editors today, didn't you?
But and it was supposed to end like 4 times, and it didn't. There's a lot of problems with Bleach, which we talked about.
Editors have fought them. I mean, there's been a million videos on that.
And we talked about Gap Generation, and nothing had come to fill its place. Anyway, a lot of stuff with Bleach.
If you want to hear Bleach, check out the end.
Yeah,
exactly.
But at the end of the day, it suffered what, all stories do. It needed to invest in a system that it could rely on, and it didn't. Bleach was a perfect one-trick pony.
Yeah.
It was beautiful one-trick pony.
And that's what we're saying. Like, all of these series we talked about have enormous potential.
You should read Toriko. Toriko's great. It's inventive. It's fun.
I loved it.
Yeah, you saw the first couple episodes. There are no girls. But, like,
no, there's one. There's one. There's
who
one.
has the biggest boner for the lady. Like, oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Do you guys have a pull-out moment in anime?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, there's gotta be like a specific moment. We didn't get too much into specific moments, but like, I'm sure you guys have a moment where you're like, no, I hit the pause button.
I got it, yeah.
That's a KO.